Welcome, Slingin Dirt Media. I'm DJ Smallwood in the race shop with Tony Trafficant. Tony, man, thanks for having me over, man.
I appreciate it. I've been seeing a lot of good stuff you've been doing, and
appreciate that.
Appreciate the phone call, and I'm excited to be here and hopefully tell a lot of people some good stories and stuff like that.
Here's what I was thinking. You owed me some time anyways for some partying. So I'm like, we're gonna record a BS session. How about that?
Okay. That sounds good to me.
All right. So let's. Where'd you start racing at? Did you do some go-kart stuff, or is this where you started at?
Well, I started in go-karts. So I was born in Michigan. My dad worked for Ford Motor Company,
Okay.
Livonia transmission plant, and I had a yard cart when I was 6, 7 years old, and then my dad got transferred to Ford Sharonville, right down the road from here, and you know he was like, hey, you know, let's go to Camden and see what you think of the go-karts out there. So my dad grew up in go-karts. Pretty much, you know, he raced all over the place in go-karts. He was very successful in go-karts.
I've seen some pictures, man.
Yeah,
he was serious about that.
He was pretty good. So he had raced at Camden before. He also raced at Eaton, which is a track that's no longer there. Camden is still active.
Okay.
Still, it's G&J Kartway. Gary Gregg owns it. And we got a cart used off somebody, and I started racing rookie Briggs.
Okay, so you guys may have bought some parts. I remember when I was a kid, and we had a yard cart and did some stuff like that, but I was nowhere near your level. But we used to go to a place over here, Cherville, down here.
Abco.
Yeah.
I raced. A.R. Gardner.
Okay.
Is who owned Abco.
Okay.
So we would get some parts from them. And
who's there all the time?
Yeah, so they were local. You know, that was the only place that was really around here that you could get carts from. And I started racing rookie Briggs, and then we moved into kind of traveling around. So it was probably around. I won the track championship locally at G&J Kartway at Camden, 1990.
Okay.
So then it was 91, 92. We started traveling around, and our carts came from California. A guy named Jeffrey Nelson was the guy. It was Nelson Manufacturing. It was an Invader chassis, and around here we were kind of the only one that had this because it's kind of weird. Back then, everything came from California.
Right.
So California, the stuff kind of migrated over here.
And we were behind. So they
seriously. No, that's how. That's how it was. So, Jeff Nelson was awesome. He helped us through and through, and you know, we had the cart, traveled all over the place. We went to Barnesville, Georgia, Charlotte, North Carolina, Jacksonville, Florida, Cuddy, Beckville, New York. Back then it was 92. We won Great Lakes Sprint Series Championship, the Ohio Sprint Series Championship. It came in third in the World Karting Association. Timothy Peters, I think, won, which he went on to race trucks.
Yeah.
Sam Hornish, who raced Indy cars, I think he finished fourth. And I can't really remember. Brian Connor maybe once came in second. Brian Connor ended up running dirt late models down in Carolinas. So that's kind of the go-kart thing. And then...
So when did you go from karts to the big cars, full-size cars?
Right. So my dad went from go-karts to stock cars in Michigan when I was younger.
Right.
So he raced at Flat Rock Speedway in Michigan. So obviously, going back to what I was saying before, you know, my dad's like, you know, I'm like, we ran oval track stuff too. So we ran at Fantasy Tracks, which was up, you know where that is, by, it was an oval track, and A.R. Gardner owned it. It was where Fantasy Farm used to be, and then they built a racetrack down in like a gully.
Was that the place what was the place next to, or it was right by Kings Island, or not Kings Island, Americana?
That's it.
That's it, okay.
Yeah, so we ran oval track stuff. Same thing, Invader, Jeff Nelson, Invader chassis, got me in that. And I remember we went, my dad, we're like, you know, let's go look at some circle track stuff, you know. And the only place was Kill Care. was asphalt. That was it. And that's no offense,
Yeah.
it's a goofy track.
Not my.
It's like
asphalt's not my thing.
it's like, well, and it's a weird track. So
Right.
my dad's like, well, let's go to Florence, and we went down there, and I just remember, I'm like, man, I was like, this is pretty neat.
This is pretty neat.
This is pretty cool. And so my dad, I was 14, 15 years old at the time, and a company called Burrell out of Italy, Italian company, wanted to develop an oval track go-kart.
Okay.
And they got a hold of me, and they're like, we need a factory driver. You know, we want to basically fly out to Italy and develop this kart, and they were going to pay for everything.
Nice.
And my dad's like, do you want to do that, or do you want to, we'll build you a street stock car.
Right.
And I was like, we'll build a street stock car. So we sold all the go-kart stuff, sold the trailer,
You gave up the trip
and everything.
to Italy
Yeah,
and
it
all
was
that.
like, kind of like the
to go race street.
to go
stocks
race
in
street
Florence.
stock cars. So my dad, we lived in Westchester, down on old Westchester. There was a road that kind of came out of the old Westchester, and my sister did gymnastics.
Okay.
My younger sister, Tara, so she did gymnastics, and we used to go down this road to go take her to and from the gymnastics place.
Right.
And there was this cinder block built garage. It was
Okay.
blue.
Yeah.
And this guy, it was 3 cars, okay? There's this guy always out there working on race cars.
Okay.
So my dad, kept going by, and he's like, tell you, I'm going to stop by this guy's house.
Right.
So he stops in there. It's Billy Teagarden Jr.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Billy Teagarden Jr. and Vern Little, who's the Vern's?
Todd.
Todd.
Todd Lefevre.
Yeah, so Todd knew Billy,
Yep.
and my dad's like, hey, will you build us a car?
Yeah.
So he built us a car. It was a 1989 Buick Regal frame,
Okay.
okay? And it was this car here,
Okay.
all right? Billy he put all the cage in, did the
Right.
whole, did everything.
Chassis work.
It was rolling when we got it out of there.
Okay.
But there were some issues that we had to do. It kind of was a falling out a little bit with my dad, just kind of, anyways, whatever. It just,
Right.
Billy did it. He could fabricate, but it was a little bit of a hodgepodge at the end of the day. So Jack DeCalvi, who I think Jack DeCalvi used to have Pat Patrick drive for him back in the
that
day.
Name sounds real
Yeah,
familiar.
Cactus Jack.
Okay, yeah,
Cactus Jack has a pipe.
Yeah.
So we take it out there, and he ends up fixing
like a straw hat.
straw.
Kinda, yeah.
I don't know if he has a straw hat, but
There was somebody else that had a straw hat.
yeah.
That
So,
was-
so he ends up. My dad. He worked Jack worked at Ford with my dad.
Yeah.
So, he's like, hey, I got these issues, some
Right.
stuff's the suspension's not traveling the way it's supposed to. So we take it out there. He gets it all set up. We get the car on there. And then we went to where it was probably, by this time it was maybe 97, 96.
Okay.
And then I don't remember what year I won Rookie of the Year.
Okay.
And that. I know Bobby Lanier was still running because
Yeah.
he was
kicking hard on
flying.
his butt.
And the big thing for us was we always ran Ford motors.
Right.
That was our big thing. I mean, we were like the only one besides some guy in Lawrenceburg that used to come out of Lawrenceburg.
Yeah. I vaguely remember there
It was like a
another one,
purple
but-
car. It was purple. I don't remember the guy's name. But my first time behind the car was at Old Lawrenceburg.
Okay. Yeah.
We went there, and the guys from Hardentown Towing were there.
Yep.
And that was the first time that I was actually in the car.
How did that feel? Compared to the old.
Well, I mean, it was, I had oval track dirt, a little
had
bit of
basic
dirt
skill
experience,
set,
yeah, but it was like the power was crazy,
Yeah. What kind? You said you had a Ford. What
So
motor,
it was a
what motor
Ford.
did
So
you have?
we ran 2 motors.
Okay.
Okay, so we had a little motor and a big motor. We had both of them were based off of a 351 Windsor. And one of them, Pat Reddy, who is right here in the picture here. He ended up building our motors.
Okay.
And my dad first had our little motor originally built by a guy out of Michigan that he raced with up there. His name was Mick.
Okay.
And basically, so we had 351 Windsors, and the little motor was bored and stroked 375 cubic inches. The other motor that Pat built from the ground up was 398 cubic inches.
This is the big motor.
That was the big motor. So the big motor, we had problems with distributor gears, kept breaking.
Yep.
They just kept buzzing off.
Right.
And so the year I won the championship, we really only ran the big motor like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And it was to the point where we had to, Pat and my dad had to take a freeze, like a freeze plug and drill a hole in it, and we had to more or less simulate the oiling system and shoot this plug onto the distributor gear.
Right.
And then we went to Kill Care and tested. And
Okay.
that was the week of the championship night. So we went, Kill Care has open practice like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I don't know what day it is. So we hit Saturday night. That Saturday night was the championship night
At Florence.
at Florence. So my dad was like, "What do you want to do? Do you want to
We got to test.
do you want the big motor or do you want the little motor?" And I'm like, well, if you guys think it's going to be all right. He's like, "Yeah, I think we got it." And I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "Well, we're going to go test." So we went to Kill Care, and I mean, we ran a car I put some junky tires on there, but we ran that car for at least an hour at minimum.
Sure.
And nothing, it was fine.
Everything
it was
was
good. And then that Saturday night, it was me and Tolson, and I ended up winning that night, and then I just won the championship by 4 points.
That's a tight battle.
Yeah, it was something like if Tolson would have won, I think I could have came in like second, maybe third.
Yeah.
But if I would have finished anything behind that, he would have won.
Really?
Yeah, my dad had it all figured out.
He had it all figured
He had it all figured out. So yeah. So then anyway, that's how the street stock stuff happened, and then, then we moved to the late model stuff, and then that's when we got an old Audi McWilliams car. It was an old GRT. We got
you never
from
did
him.
Any modified or anything like that?
Never
You
did
went
any of
straight
that.
from-
I was straight from street
stocks
stocks to late models. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just I don't know.
Yeah,
I've never, I've never really been a modified
Right.
fan.
Back then, they probably let's see, they were pretty popular back then.
Yeah. It was, but it was just something like I don't know. It was just kind of the way the cookie crumbled.
The cookie crumbles. Right.
And my dad was really good friends with John Weber, who helped Audi. So that's kind of how we got his car.
Yeah.
And then, and we ran a GRT for a while, and then we ended up buying a rocket car.
Okay.
At some point in time, I was Rookie of the Year.
I was gonna say, do you remember?
At some
I knew you
point-
got a Rookie of the Year in the late model.
Yeah,
do you remember
I
what
just
year
don't.
that was?
It was probably like, so 99, it was maybe like 03-ish, 04.
I was gonna say, because I started racing in 2000. So that was like my rookie season in Super Dirts. And I know you were still there some, but I just can't remember how much longer after that.
Yeah, we sold, so this was 99 when we had this car. And we sold this in like 2000, 2001, because there was this time where we were running both cars at the same time.
Okay.
And that was a lot of fun because like it was just fun because you just don't. It's just different because you don't like. I don't know about other drivers or other crew chiefs, crew members, whatever, but sometimes you overthink stuff.
Yeah.
And you didn't really have time. You didn't have time to really think. It was just like you just got to go, like because you didn't have a lot of time. Yeah. So it was like you get out of the car and you're just like, yeah, hey, maybe do this, maybe do that, and then boom, you're out in another car. So. So that was fun, and then Gary Folger ended up buying the street stock car.
Okay, I was gonna say, I couldn't remember who bought it after you. I thought Now I know you guys helped. The guy's name was Rick Allen. A little bit after.
So Jack DeCalvi, yeah, Rick Allen. He's not with us anymore.
Oh, I thought I heard that. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, he took his own life. So, yeah, that was because he was a hell of a driver. After I got, because he kind of took over kind of after I was out of there.
I knew him and my cousin Matt raced.
Yeah. So Jack DeCalvi ended up helping him. He was Rick Allen, I think, was Jack DeCalvi's nephew.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was
interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, he had, but that's back when they, in my opinion, that's kind of when they made the class go. It's when it's when the shift happened.
Yeah.
You know, because
right after 2000s when things started, or I guess right at 2000, right after that it started getting out of hand. Late model bodies on them and stuff. This is crazy.
Yeah, it was
Burt transmissions.
Well, we had a Burt. We had a Burt.
Yeah.
In '99, Tulsa was running a Burt.
Still on street tires.
We were still on street tires,
and then it was like a couple years after.
But we were like the only one. Like you had, like that's the thing. It's funny because I was talking to Kevin Blair, Uncle Kevin about this. It was like you had Spencer had a clip, what you'd call a clip car back then. You had stub in the front, and then you'd have the clip in the back. Right. You know what I mean? So my car was a full frame car all the way back. So we were heavy.
Mine was too.
I mean, my car was
Mine
heavy.
Was too.
I mean, I was 200 pounds overweight.
Do you remember racing against Chris Yoakum?
Yeah, Chris Yoakum was there.
He had that the last street stock car that he had. That was my first car. I bought that car for him when he went to late model. Okay. I was helping Garrett Engel. Yeah. And so he bought one of Garrett's cars. So I'm like, well, I'm going to buy that car. Yeah. So I left Garrett and started driving in street stock. Yeah. So you had, it's crazy because you had, tough. You had, Lanner moved around 98, 99. He got out of the class. That was one less. I had to worry
and he had a full frame car. It was an old Camaro.
Yeah. That thing was fast.
Yeah, it was really fast. So he had a full frame car. My car was a full frame car, but then you had Bill Blair Jr. had a clip car. Spencer, Don Gotterwies.
Yeah.
Remember him?
Yeah,
you had
77 car.
77 car was yellow.
Yep.
Then you had the Robertson brothers, but they had there were full frame cars.
Yes, Dave. Yeah, both of those was Dave. Yes, my cousin Matt, when he got in, he bought Dave's car.
Okay,
that was his first car.
Right, and then you had Ronnie Liguori.
Yep, Ronnie. Man,
it was stacked.
And little Larry Moreland, he had
Larry Moreland. And then so
God,
it was just a lot. And the thing was that class. There was I don't know, there was 40 cars.
Oh, there was an A and
cars.
B feature every single week.
Yeah, A and B feature every single week.
Landers, there was a couple of those. Yeah, there was.
So you had it was just such a
Cruise Camp. Cruise Camp was still on the street stock back then.
It was such a crazy class, and it was such a neat class.
Yeah. I thought it was fairly simple. It was like, hey, the car has to weigh this much. It's got to be front and rear enclosed. It's got 2-barrel and street tires and leaf spring. Like, hey, this is kind of keeping it simple,
Well, and we did a lot, like in between. We did a lot to the car as far as front end stuff. In between, when we started in '96 before '99. We went through so much stuff on the car.
Anything you want to tell me that might not have been legal that you got by with?
Honestly, I am not. The only
thing.
Is that a dad question? No, the only thing that we ever did really was is I used to sight my tires.
Oh, okay.
We tried it. So we didn't really do. Everybody thought we had some crazy motor.
Okay.
Because
it was Ford. It was crazy.
It was Ford, and then we had the 180-degree headers.
Right.
So it had this real distinct sound to it.
Yeah.
And we ran the big CNS carburetor, but anybody that was running up front, had the big CNS carburetor. And I mean, both our motors, I mean, we ran our little motor most of the time. I mean, we didn't run the big motor. We had real good, smooth power. I mean, Pat was really good at picking.
And this is when the track back then was pretty much black slick a lot. So
yeah, that was crazy because like I put that. That's on my list here. This is what's crazy because there's probably a lot of people. I don't know how many. I know there's people that remember this, but I think this is neat. Back when I raced, the caution lights used to be strung.
Oh yeah,
across the track.
Yeah, across the track. Yep.
Like Christmas lights.
Yeah.
That's how it was. That's the caution light come out. Right. You look at these. You know, this.
You didn't have the one.
They didn't have.
The straightaway.
No, there was nothing there. And then you used to start on the backstretch. There used to be a cone on the backstretch where Larry Moreland Sr. used to stand. Oh, yeah. They used to set the opening. They used to set the cone where you could go single file between the wall and the cone.
Okay.
And that's where you'd start.
Really? I don't remember that.
Yes. That's how you used to start. So you'd literally the leader, and it was single file. There was no Delaware double file, none of that crap. So you'd start like there. I mean, if you were back in like, think about it, like you're back in like 15th or something.
Yeah.
You're going full blast past this cone. You know, so, but I mean, like, seriously, if you were the leader, you're hitting it and you're gunning it through 3 and 4.
Oh, yeah.
But you might, I mean, the flag man, he used to wait. If you were sitting there as a spectator, as soon as the leader would get to the cone, the flag man would start waving the green.
He's waving it then.
Yeah, so you just full blast all the way through.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then you probably remember this. So turn 1 and 2 was a guardrail.
Yes.
And then obviously at some point in time, you know, Josh and Jerry did the deal where they put that in. But those are my 3 fast facts about Florida Speedway. But yeah, that's how long ago.
Yeah,
you know, that,
man, the place they've done a lot of. It's like every year they do. I mean, it's not. They have to do improvements. They do improvements, and they do a great job at it. And I just don't remember the cone being on the backstretch. I remember one time, and I can't remember if it was you or if it was Tolson. For some reason, do you remember putting lap cars in between? On restarts.
Maybe I don't remember that.
So here's what I distinctly remember. I just can't remember who because I was buddies with Spencer. Still buddies with Spencer.
Yeah.
So Spencer was running second, but for some reason I was a lap car. That's not unusual. But so I was in between Spencer and whoever's leading, and it was either you or Tolson. I just can't remember. Maybe it might have been Tolson. I think it was when he had that Avenger car when he was driving for Larry.
Okay.
So I was stuck in, and this was when the cone was on the front stretch. And Spencer's like, get out of the way. So that way, as soon as we hit that cone, I wasn't interfering.
I don't remember lap cars. I don't remember that.
I just remember that one incident. It was like, I don't know why I was.
But back then, it was, so back then, like, what happened was we raced a little bit at Old Lawrenceburg, and Ronnie Ligori was over there, and he raced. And I just remember he came over to talk to my dad, and he goes, you need to get him over to Florence. And my dad was a little, like, leery, it was like a bigger track, and stuff like that. And, and Ronnie's like, it gets so dry slick, like, he's like, just it's a driver's racetrack, and so we're like, okay, and that's kind of how we ended up at Florence instead of staying at Lawrenceburg. I mean, Lawrenceburg was okay for what it was.
I do, but I never got to turn laps on the big track. So when they converted it and did all that, I'd already quit driving. Okay. When they converted over to the new configuration, which I think somebody said that was in 08. Well, I knew I raced after 08, and I was still in the modified, but just never went back after they did the new track. Yeah. So, but man, I thought the old track was fun. I didn't race the old Lawrenceburg in a street stock, though. I only been to the old Bird in a modified.
Okay, gotcha.
That thing it was fun.
Right.
Racy track on certain nights, the nights that they had the sprints, man. He felt.
That place could get. It was.
It was fun.
Yeah. So, I mean, cheating stories. I mean, that was everybody thought. Like I said, my mom worked for Jack Roush when we lived in Michigan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, obviously, people that were close to my dad or close to me kind of found that out, and then that's Uncle Kevin wanted me to. He's like, you got to make sure you tell that part of the story because that's kind of where everything transpired with this car.
I can see some Jack Roush looking
was
thing.
like, well, they just like, oh, he's got a Jack Roush motor,
right?
Those heads came from Jack Roush. They were just down at the dyno.
Something's tricked us.
There's like, so there was all kinds of stuff
That's hilarious.
that went around that, and it was fun. I mean, I like I said, I mean, I was honestly, without a doubt, there's that class was just, it was so much fun because when you start the late model stuff, I mean,
it's more serious.
Well, we did really well for what it was.
Right.
I mean, we ran, I think, the best we could, especially when we had the GRT car. I think we made the most out of that. And then the rocket car, I mean, we ran really well against that, but it's just so much work.
I think right about that time frame when you was in the late model, I think that's about, and this again is my opinion, I think that's about when low budget teams could do their best. Shortly after that is when the ingenuity and the working on it went away, and it's just you just buy the parts, bolt them on, and make them fast. And the more money you spend, the faster you go. After that, when you were in it, it was like, man, there was a ton of late models back then.
There was a lot.
How many late model teams is there now compared to then?
I don't know. I watched. That's the thing. It's kind of. It's like I said before. We started this I feel like there's a little bit of State of the Union kind of conversation, but I mean, we would have never raced anything to do with dirt if there was another asphalt track here.
Really?
Probably not. Huh. We probably would have never known anything about any of this. And who knows what my pathway would have been, but that's whatever. Right. But I mean, I sit there, I watch flow racing, and that kind of stuff, but nobody, I don't know what kind of needs to happen to engage new people into the sport. Yeah. Because it's the only way, you know what I mean? Like my buddy Lowell helped me for years. I mean, we went to.
What's he doing now?
He's working at Ford.
Okay.
He's working at Ford, but I mean, we went to school together. Yeah. And then he's just like, we were kind of friends in school or whatever. Right. And I was like, yeah, I'm racing. He always knew I raced go-karts. Then we get this stock car and then he's just helping. Yeah. But I mean, like it's just, I don't know. I don't know what, we just heard, I don't know if you know, the Ross Chastain move is now banned.
That's illegal now?
It's illegal. It just came out. Literally, it just came out. Today's February 1st, and it just came out like yesterday. No more Ross Chastain move.
That's hilarious.
So it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's just, I think our product's good, but, especially with how Flow covers everything, and, you don't have to, you don't necessarily have to leave your house to watch this stuff.
Yeah, they do a really good job.
It's unbelievable, the coverage. And
they get into the tech side of it and everything, and showing you what's going on, so the spectators understand what they're talking about when they say different things, which is good.
Yeah,
people need
absolutely.
To know. I don't know. I like to use this, and I hope that maybe somebody sees this. It's like, I didn't know there's even a racetrack down here, or something like, and maybe they catch an episode or two and see this guy on here, like, this guy seems like he's pretty cool. We gotta go down here and check him out, or the stories that they're talking about. We gotta go check this stuff out.
Or at least like pull it up on Flow or find some stuff and watch it.
I can't get over. I can't believe you passed up a factory Italian cart deal.
And the worst thing is I'm Italian.
Right. That's why I'm blown away.
Yeah. Me and my girlfriend, we've got plans. We're gonna hopefully go to Italy. sometime in this coming September.
Nice.
So yeah, I golf.
Yeah.
That's kind of taken a little bit of my time now, but besides work, but yeah. So the Ryder Cup is going to be in Italy.
Okay.
And we're trying to correlate where we can at least go one day to watch the Ryder Cup, and then we're going to go to Rome and all the other places. And yeah. So, but at the time, I mean, you know, looking back on it, I mean, you look at go-karts now. Go-karts now, everything comes from Italy. Everything.
Yeah.
Like everything. So
it's crazy.
I mean, you can't, like, there's a couple still around, like Margay that's been around forever. So that chassis manufacturer is still here in Coyote, which is out of New York. They're still around. And then I know Jeff Nelson, I think his son or nephew still does some stuff, but you got to be out there to get it. Yeah. But I mean, go-karts now, I mean, all of it, Italy, all of it's, everything. Right. So, yeah, it's just a crazy world. And to think back then, you know, what could have been if, you know, to go to Italy and be like, you know,
this is pretty cool.
This is neat. But I still don't think that, you know, the path I took, I'm happy with it. And
you had fun, didn't you?
I had fun. If I wouldn't have I wouldn't be sitting here with you.
You're right.
Because I wouldn't know you.
You're right.
So
I wouldn't be talking to some Italian
golf
course.
That's right. I wouldn't. So, anyway.
Well, let's do this. Let's take a quick break.
Okay.
We'll refill our beverages. So I'll do like yellow flag.
That's fine.
Break,
yeah.
And then we'll come back and we'll talk about your.
We can do
stuff.
If you want. We can do a shop tour.
Whatever.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Yeah.
Yellow flag. We'll see you back in a few minutes.
Sounds good.
All right, Tony, we're in the office here at your race shop. So tell us around and give us a tour.
Well, our shop used to be a lot bigger. So one of the things that when we started racing, when we lived in Michigan and my dad had the stock car, we had it in the garage up there. So when we decided to move, our go-karts ran out of the house. We had a 3-car garage, so we had the go-karts in the house. And when we got the stock car, my mom was like, no. Like, Larry, you got to figure something out. So my dad had a friend down the street that owned some commercial property, and he basically came up with the idea. He's like, listen, you know, build a pre-engineered steel building, rent part of it out, and keep part of it for yourself. So my dad built a 9,000 square foot building, and we basically kept 3,000 square feet for ourselves. And since we've gotten out of doing it, my dad separated it out. Now we're just down to 15. So this is the office. At one point in time, I actually lived out here, believe it or not. Really? Yeah. So this was actually my bedroom, which is kind of crazy. But I mean, we got, you know, all kinds of stuff. This is some go-kart stuff we had. This is kind of cool. My dad did this. This is actually really neat. This is a piston out of one of our go-kart motors, and this was in 1990. And this is a Sprint Series championship I won in 93. One of the ones. And then that's in 99 when we won the track championship at Florence. It's my dad, Lisa, which is Pat's daughter, my buddy Lowell, me, and then Wayne Morgan. Wayne Morgan worked with my dad at Ford. And then this is after I was out of this stuff. My dad had Brainerd Green Drive for him. And then this was in Barnesville, Georgia in 93. I ran second in that race.
Who's this guy?
It's me. Yeah, I got a beard now. Back then I couldn't grow a beard. And then this was maybe 03-ish or so, probably, something like that. And then this was 91. And then this was my first kart at Camden. That kart right there. And then this was the yard kart we had in Michigan. This was actually a big field that was behind the land we had. It was kind of cool.
I think I had one just like that, but it was blue.
Yeah, this is crazy. And then that was maybe somewhere 02, 03, 04, something like that.
Well, let's walk out into the shop.
So this is kind of cool. This is
what kind of toolbox is it?
it's not a toolbox. This is our fridge. We got,
That's awesome.
We've had it off. I just turned it on actually today. So yeah, it's pretty neat out here. Bathroom, there's a shower in there, and then up top, that's a soapbox derby car my dad built. We ran a soapbox derby 2 or 3 times, and you can look it up on YouTube. It's Red Bull. It's crazy stuff. But of course, my dad, we've got go-kart rear brakes on it. It's wild. So just bolt bends, stuff like that. We still have our war wagon, so to speak. My dad made that from scratch. And then we've got a mill out here. My dad makes all kinds of stuff kind of on the mill. We got a phase inverter out here, so just drill press. This is an old South Bend lathe that's a tabletop. My dad used to have another one out here. He ended up selling it when we kind of downsized. Air compressor we kind of keep back there in a, kind of a closet to quiet it down. And then I don't know what year we ended up getting this. It's a 98 Mustang Cobra convertible. It's all stock. Jimmy Boynott completely repainted it. It's literally like bone stock mint car. It's only got like 55,000 miles on it.
It's a nice looking piece.
Yeah, it's fun to drive, but it's neat. It's not souped up or anything. So yeah.
So I was saying, I felt like the shop used to be a lot bigger.
Yeah. So this wall wasn't here, so we were in twice the amount of size as before.
Gotcha.
So, and there was a time we had 2 cars for a while. We used to keep the trailer over here, and then all the work used to happen over there. But,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Good deal.
That's kind of about it. I mean,
That's enough. Enough to race out of.
Yeah.
I
used to have a washer and dryer over here. That's what I said when I lived here. I mean, I had a washer and dryer, a shower, and then I had 3,000 square feet. I mean, we had a pool table out here on the other side.
Why would you not live here?
It was fantastic. It was awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good deal. All right. Well, Tony, thanks for the shop walk, and we'll get back to our interview.
Sounds good.
So we're back. Green flag underway. Sitting in the shop with Tony Trafficant. Tony, thanks, man. We did the little shop walk. That's great.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive back into. We didn't talk much about your late models. We knew you did some late model racing, so we'll start with that. I got some other questions.
That's cool.
Tell me about the late models, man. Did you like it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's fun. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you're up on the wheel, elbows up a lot, and then, like I said before, I mean, when I raced, the track configuration isn't the way that it is now. It was
track conditions are way different.
Oh, they're way different.
And you had maybe 3 times as many cars.
Correct.
I mean,
so it was. I don't know if I want to say it was. I don't want to downplay what's happening now to say that it was more competitive back then. But from a car count standpoint,
I get that.
It was more competitive because you had the car count.
Sure.
But as far as like what, your Josh Rices are doing now around that place, I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, that kid gets up around a wall like that.
He makes it look easy.
He makes it look easy, and back then,
but it's not.
Yeah. So it's. Do I think if I jumped in his car, there's no way I could do that. Probably not.
Probably not.
So it's just a different thing. What's happening now. I know the cars are different and that kind of stuff, but the racetrack is a lot different. There's a lot more moisture in the racetrack.
Yeah.
It's a lot more elbows up, no matter throughout the night.
Yeah.
And the configuration of the racetrack's a lot different. You didn't have slide jobs back when I raced, really.
Yeah, they weren't so much of a thing.
They were few and far between. And, so it's different. But as a whole, I mean, the late model stuff was fun.
So when you went to late model, did it seem like more of a job? Because now it's more serious. We're not just playing with street stocks anymore. Hey, we're serious. We're the big boys now. Was it more of a job, or did you still guys have the fun?
So it's interesting because when I first got in it, you had the Have a Tampa and the Stars series.
Yeah.
And then that Battle of Bluegrass was around then. And it was just, it was just different. I mean, it was a lot of work. It was a ton of work. We ran Penske double adjustable shocks. I know when we first raced, when we had Audi's car, we ran AFCO single adjustables. And then that was when the 4-bar the shock behind first came out with Skip Arp.
Right.
That was kind of when that was rising.
Yeah.
It's something interesting that I feel like a lot of people are doing now. The left rear lower bird cage, my dad took the lower bracket and we machined a notched piece in it to lower it down to increase the thrust angle on the left rear.
Yeah.
And now that's like an option on all your bird cages. I'm not trying to say that we patented this idea.
Right.
But
see, that's what I was saying. I felt like back then guys were doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Trying different things.
Right. You had Davenport with his device, which was a split bird cage. This is what, like I said, I don't know this, but he supposedly had a split bird cage with some kind of shock built into it on the one side, and it was like a swing arm type thing. Yeah. Now they got you all. You're in a box.
Everybody is like this.
Yeah. So back then that wasn't happening.
Yeah.
You also had back then traction control had kind of just came out.
Yeah. So in your opinion,
I never
you think
did
that
any
made
of
racing
that.
better then, or is it better now?
Oh, I don't. I mean, I don't. I don't. That's a tough question because
I'll give you
the
my
cars
opinion. I think it was way better back then.
Well,
I mean, I'm not taking away from drivers now, but I think the racing was better.
If you look
then.
at speed weeks, so far as what's happening,
it's been pretty good.
I mean, it's been pretty good.
It's been pretty good.
I mean, it's pretty wild.
You got me
what
on that
I've
one.
seen.
Yeah,
I mean, you got Larson. Jeez, I mean, that was crazy.
Anything with Larson.
I mean, that was nuts what he did down there.
Yeah.
What was it? Golden Isles.
Yeah.
Just Josh Ricing it up around the top. I mean, that was crazy.
Yeah.
So I can't. I don't really know. It's almost like you have to look at it like what's the status of the race car at the time.
Mm-hmm.
At the time back then, I feel like that the racing is what it was at that time. Now we've got a different. The cars are different. Everybody everybody can get more or less kind of the same thing for the most part. And
back to everybody's
in a box.
In that box.
And now you got the tire rule change that they came out with. So, but as far as me in the late model, I mean, it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, you had the traction control that was coming on the scene, and then you also had the tire.
Which kind did you guys have?
We didn't have any traction control.
I had to ask.
I remember at the PRI, I stood at the booth and talked to the guy.
And there's nobody else talking to that guy.
But there was a long line around me, a big old crowd. But we never took the plunge.
So you only ran the 3 classes: go-karts, street stocks, and late models.
That was it.
Which was your favorite?
Oh, street stocks, probably.
Street stocks. Yeah, okay.
It was just, I don't know.
It was a lot of fun.
It was just fun because there just wasn't, you were just, there wasn't really a lot of work to do in the car.
Right.
So.
Minor adjustments.
And it was just, you were just out there driving. Yeah. It wasn't, you actually, late models, it was just different. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if, I know you talked to Jerry Rice a couple weeks ago. He said the sportsman class was unbelievable. They didn't have a sportsman class when I got into it.
We had street stocks.
We had street stocks. So it was just different. It was just different back then. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I had fun in the late models. We ran really well. Like I said, I feel like we made the most and did the best we could.
Yeah.
I remember one time I won. We were light. I took a piece of lead off the car.
That's never happened before, huh?
We were, yeah. I mean, you had what? All those people with Bubba. There was like 3 people light.
Yeah.
Just the other night, and they said something was wrong with scales. But I screwed up. I took like 20 pounds of lead off the car because I scaled it, and then I liked the numbers without it on there, and I'm like, well, we'll see. And then this race, Landrum finished second, and then I won. And there were so many caution flags.
Yeah.
There was so many caution flags.
Right.
And we were light by like 15 pounds.
Damn it, man.
We actually didn't load the car. We went down in the infield.
Yeah.
And I went back in there, and I think I talked to Jerry, and I'm like, hey, can I go? I'm like, I want to see where I'm at. And I think I was like right at like 15 pounds. So. But either way, it was my fault. Landon won. But you try to do stuff. I mean, you try to do as much as you can, and then the like I said, the traction control was happening, and then you had the tire juicing going on. So that was just something. I mean, we messed around with it. I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat it. We did.
We tried it.
But I don't know what.
Right.
It was kind of like what was everybody else is doing it.
Right.
I'm getting it from. I knew where I was getting it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I went somewhere and like called a chemical company and said, "Hey, I need this delivered." I know where I was going to get it, and then I know the other people affiliated. They were using it too. So it was just we don't
have to mention any names.
Yeah, I don't want to do any of that, but. I mean, now you got tire samples. That's.
We were doing tire samples back then.
Doing tire samples.
I think somebody was sniffing it or something. You smell anything?
Yeah.
I just saw that.
Yeah. So, it's funny because like I know, I heard a rumor in a street stock class about somebody that had a motor issue, and they knew somebody that had a mod motor that would only run on alcohol. Because back then, that was the other thing. So back when I raced, when I got into it, that was when people were still running alcohol.
Yeah.
Now, we never had, none of our late model motors ran alcohol. Yep. Okay? But you gotta think about it. So your mod guys, a lot of the mod guys had alcohol because they didn't run, the races weren't long enough to worry about the fuel burn.
Yeah.
So I heard a rumor somebody had something wrong with their motor, and they got a motor from a mod guy, and then they ran alcohol, and then they'd those old school Jazz fuel cells.
Yeah.
Okay, this is
had the loop on top.
They had the loop on top, the D-ring.
Yeah.
So they would take a piece of PVC pipe, and then it was cut because they were only like this tall, right? So they'd cut a piece of 4-inch, 5-inch PVC, whatever, and drop it down in there. And then they take a siphon and siphon because obviously you're putting it down in there, so it had all the alcohol because they're running alcohol. So they're siphoning all the alcohol out, and then they take racing gas and dump it down in there.
Yeah.
So
when you check
somebody check it.
It's got gas.
It's got gas in it. I ain't running alcohol. I got gas.
Here's the funny thing. This is the second time I've heard the story in 2 weeks.
Well, I don't know, but anyway.
I'm not saying who, but I just heard this story. That's funny.
Yeah. So you need to, whatever you put on the description, you need to say like cheating stories.
Yeah.
That'll get people watching. So we got to break records.
We got to break the records.
So anyway, so that was it. I mean, it was fun. It was a good time.
So outside of cheating, tell me, I don't know if you have one particular or one for each class. Did you have like some serious rivalries? Who would have been like, just this guy, just.
So my dad, in late models, my dad would probably likely say Roger Williams.
Okay.
Even though I don't know, I never really had a problem with Roger Williams. And then, Josh Williams.
Oh, yeah.
We had a run in a time or two.
Okay.
But I don't know. Other than that, I mean, I remember one night I started. We ran real good at a big show, and Daryl was starting in front of me, and it kind of stop checked going through 3 and 4, and I got into his quarter panel. But it wasn't anything. I mean,
That's racing.
I don't really feel like I don't feel like I was ever, some kind of, like I'd lean on people on purpose or anything like that. I mean, street stock wise, me and Tolson and I ran side by side. So that's probably going to be your next question, right?
Oh,
Who was it?
Yeah. Sure. Since you brought him up, Big Daddy, come on.
Tolson and I always ran well with each other. I have no issues whatsoever with Sean. We ran each other really hard.
Yeah.
We had we won and we lost with each other. That was it. It was no.
My gears are turning, and I'm almost seeing a beer drinking session. Just you and Sean, let's just get together and drink some beer.
Yeah, Tolson and I had we had a lot of fun. The one story was, it might have been the North-South. It may have been the Ironman, because back then they had the Ironman.
Yeah.
So the street stocks, Jerry had it set up where that he would start. I think he would start certain nights by points.
Top 24 in points.
There
was a few times because yes.
Yeah, my dad's. If
You
you want to know, my dad's got the books. My dad's my dad's literally got everything. He's got setup sheets. He's got binders.
Did you
we
tell
could
me
probably find
he
out.
still has?
He's got all the envelopes for the checks. He's got all of it.
Awesome.
He's got all of it. But anyway, it was a big show. It was either Ironman, North South, something.
Yeah.
And we had it was with this car. Okay. So it was 99. I know that. And we broke an axle. Okay. We had a Ford 9-inch floater, and we broke an axle, and we couldn't get another one. So we borrowed one from somebody. I can't remember who, and it was short. It was a little bit too short. So the drive hub, because you used to put the bolt to hold it in on the drive hub,
Yep.
So we, instead of having your full engagement, we only had like an inch-ish.
Okay.
So so I'm sitting, because the axle broke on the Friday night.
Okay. Yeah. It was a 2-day show.
It was a 2-day show. Right. So the axle broke on the Friday night, and so we run Saturday, and I had to start in the back, and it was probably 20-lap race. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm coming up through there. I don't remember what happened to Tolson, because I don't know if I passed him or he broke. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I get up to Spencer Watson.
Spencer, by God, Watson.
And it was a caution comes out, and I'm in second, and it's green, white, checkered. And we had, I don't know if this is it wasn't cheating, but we had this trick deal that where I would sit, I had a bleeder valve for the right front brake.
Okay.
And I was in the track was dry slick,
Black
mirror finish.
Yeah.
So I was a little tight getting in, so I shut the whole in the right front off. I'm like, I'm gonna go. So we come down, green flag, go through 1 and 2, and I'm kind of seeing what he's doing, and he's kind of pushing up. So we 3 or 4, white flag comes out, and I get underneath him going into 1, and coming out of 2, we're literally side by side all the way down the back straightaway, and then he darts back over, going into 3, and then he just runs right. We literally, it was like synchronized swimming. He comes into me, and we literally just spin out together like this. And we end up both of us back into the wall. Bill Blair Jr. rolls right through, comes down, checker flag. Takes the win.
Yeah.
So
I remember that.
Yes. So Bill Blair Sr. tells the story best, because he was in the stands, and he was sitting next to somebody, I don't remember who it was, but he's told me the story multiple times. This person looks next to him. It's like, 5 to go, the caution comes out, whatever. And he turns and looks at Bill, and he goes, I think your boy's going to win this race. He says, I think something's going to happen with these two up front. And sure enough, that's what happened. But it was just, I don't know. But that was probably like, because we changed that day. We changed our leaf springs. Yeah. So that was we weren't, like I said, this is not cheating, but we had special leaf springs that we used to order.
Okay.
It had extra an add-a leaf kind of in the front, and they were a taller ride height, so the car would get in the corner. We weren't very good when the track would get heavy.
Yeah.
So it was, but when the track got slick, we were there. We were there.
Yeah.
But we changed the leaf springs. That Lowell and Kyle Binky helped us at that time. Came down and we fixed the axle. We had all the leaf springs in.
Yeah.
And it was just tough because we went from the back to the front. And then
to the wall.
And then to the wall. So that would be, I don't necessarily say Spencer's a rival or anything. That's more like
that's a standout moment.
What was like the hardest thing that you still think about? That one. He got out of the car. When we were up in the wall, he got out of the car and he like came over and he like shook my hand and I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, but you still
just cost us
the race. Like,
that was fun, but
not that fun. You didn't start like 15th or whatever. You started like 5th. like you don't. But
that's hilarious.
The other good story, Uncle Kevin. We talked about Uncle Kevin.
Uncle
Kevin. So Uncle Kevin, we were in a heat race, and I don't know where I was, but I ended up passing him.
Yeah.
And it was coming out of 2, and I kind of was drifting up, and he ended up going down into 3, and he never let out because he's like, I'm not going to keep backing out.
Right.
Like he's done this like 3 corners, 4 corners in a row.
Yeah.
So he goes down into 3, and he just never lets off, and he pelts me, and I spin around, and I'm just like, and I ended up flicking him off as I'm turning around.
Right, yeah.
I'm just like, hey, what are you doing? Yeah.
How are you?
So I end up driving, into the infield, and then he drives his car off the track or whatever into the pits, and my dad ends up kicking the side of his door. So that was funny.
Here's the funny thing about that story. I remember giggling and laughing in my head because the whole time you were telling me this story, Kevin says that I owe him like 6 ball joints from running into him. Well, he was doing the exact same thing. So maybe up until that point, he had never. I mean, I'm still friends with Kevin. I talked to Uncle Kev. Yeah.
I talked to Kevin.
This would have been the big Monte Carlo hoopty car he had.
No, I don't know. I guess it would have been, yeah.
That's what he had when I was racing.
Yeah.
So, do you remember the big yellow Mike Hacker?
Oh, the Hacker hoopty.
Yeah, the Hacker hoopty. So, it was one of the features, and this was probably...
I think, did Razor buy that car?
I think he did.
So, that was...
There's another one.
I love Razor to death.
I love Razor. That's my
love
brother
Razor
from
to death,
another
but he cost me my first... I think it was my first win, I think, or first A-main win.
Oh, mine would have been Danny Diener.
Okay.
So I had a B-main 1, and Danny cost me
Ricky, so the story with that one was Razor, I was winning. I was coming up the lap traffic. Ricky Allen had a black Camaro.
Yeah.
He's running around the bottom. And then Razor's up there, up by the wall. And I go, and I don't know how much of a lead I had, but I go going into 3 and 4, and I split them.
Yeah.
And Razor got all loose coming up at the top side and clips me. And then I end up hitting like driver's door into that opening where Josh parks the 4-wheeler by the flag stand.
I hit off turn 4.
I hit that, and I mean that kind of rung my bell a little bit.
Yeah.
I just remember Mike Puckett coming up to me like, "You all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm all right. I think so." Yeah, but that's a Razor story. I love Razor's a trip, but
man, Razor's a
yeah,
trip.
but I remember that because he bought the Hacker Hoopty.
The Hacker Hoopty.
The Hacker Hoopty.
I can't. Me and Razor camp together every year.
Oh yeah.
At the World 100. Oh, we've been motorcycle riding. I got Harley. We were riding stuff together. When he lets me, I mean.
Yeah, no, Razor's good. Good people.
The Hacker Hoopty, before Razor had it, when I'm not going to say when it was fast, but when Hacker still had it, and he would run up front. He was a top 5 car. Mm-hmm. And by chance, I'd spun a lobe off a cam.
Okay.
So my engine just sounded, I mean, it was like a popcorn machine, but I couldn't spin tires. So it was like having traction control. I just put that thing on the floor and it would go. Everybody else on the black slick track spinning tires. And, man, I'm like, oh my God, what is going on here? I'm like passing cars.
Yeah.
I was like up to 5th and I'm running down the leaders and I'm like, but it's going to blow. I don't know what to do. I pulled off and I was like, that's my luck. That's exactly it.
That's funny.
If somebody would have machined that and done it that way on purpose, that would have been a good. Oh well,
cool.
It was fun. That was fun.
Yeah.
Man,
so that would I don't have any. I don't hold any grudges with anybody that I really raced against.
Well, you don't go to the track much anymore.
I don't.
What keeps you away from the track?
Well, work. Yeah, I have a
Golf.
I golf. I'm in a golf league. Play every Monday.
Yeah. Man, you should come down to the track some.
Well, yeah. So I own a construction company. We primarily do like residential concrete.
Let's go ahead and plug that. Plug it now.
Yeah, Delta Construction. Well, it's Delta Concrete Construction and Demolition. We do a lot of stuff in downtown Cincinnati, like Hyde Park, Mount Lookout, Oakley. It's all residential stuff, like a lot of just light demolition.
Yeah.
And then I've also put up pre-engineered steel buildings before too.
There you go.
But it's mostly red iron stuff. It's not your like glorified carports, like it's big buildings like this.
Yeah.
And that's been good. I was an iron worker for a company and putting buildings like this up, and then COVID happened and we got laid off.
Yeah. So
then I started my own company and
working out good.
Yeah, it's been good, busy but good, and so that's happening. And then got a beautiful girlfriend that we've been together for almost 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Maybe a trip to Italy, like you said.
Trip to Italy. We should have fun.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Good deal. Well, I tell you what, maybe we'll get together sometime and go to Top Golf or something like that, and you can show me how to hit a golf ball.
I mean, sure. If you want to go to Top Golf, Top Golf to me is like going bowling. It's fun. I go with my nephews and stuff. I mean, it's a good time. Here's what I'm good
at. I'm good at getting a bucket of beers.
There you go.
And just doing that and having fun. That's what I'm good at. I'm not good at golf whatsoever. Yeah. But I'm good at having a couple of beers.
Sure.
So anybody else you need to think, man? We've talked a lot. We'll go ahead and cut it here. Anybody else you need to think, or is there anything else you need to mention?
I mean, definitely my father and my mother. We lost my mom in 2006. Mm-hmm. That was pretty tough on everybody. But my dad, I mean, he's an amazing person.
Yeah.
And it was kind of tough. There's some of the stuff we used to fight a lot. And
typical father-son
relationships,
man.
It was tough, and we've kind of came back full circle. So
that's good.
It's been good to have a really, really good relationship with him.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, I wouldn't have had any of this without him. So.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, and, I can always remember your dad at the track. And
he gets a little amped up, but most of the time he's amped up at me.
Man, have you met a racer that's not passionate about it? And doesn't get worked up.
Yeah, I can tell you. I can tell you a good Larry Trafficant story. When we were racing go-karts, we were Charlotte, North Carolina. So when I raced go-karts, we raced with Timothy Peters, Sam Hornish Jr., Danica Patrick was like a step down at the time, Sarah Fisher.
Yeah.
So we were at Charlotte, and it was road course. We were racing road course then. And we went, this was like the last race of the season. So this was like settling the whole deal.
Yeah.
It was in 92.
Okay.
So my dad had an old tire barometer from when he raced at Flat Rock in Michigan.
Yeah.
And he had this thing, and we never really used it with go-karts. He just kept it in this drawer. So we go out, and I go out, and I set fast time, and you drew for position. So it doesn't really matter when I went out. But Timothy Peters, was pretty tough.
Yeah.
So he goes out after me, and something happens where the light doesn't get him.
Okay.
Because they didn't have transponders.
Malfunction.
Well, his transponders weren't a thing back then. They had the eye that come across. So he comes in, and they're like, well, he's got to go back out. And my dad's like, whoa, hold on. He runs back to the trailer, gets his pyrometer. He's trying to argue with the official. He's like, whoa, he can't go back out until his tires are the same temperatures as this cat's that's waiting to go out.
Yeah.
Well, they let him go through the thing, and they kept him until the end, but he went back out, but they were still hot.
Yeah.
He ends up beating me in qualifying. But my dad was always like, that's how, this just was the way my dad was.
And you got to be on, it's got to be fair for everybody.
He's like.
Yeah, that would have been the Larry that I know.
It was the Larry. So, him, definitely Lowell. I mean, he was, from the moment we got race car, I mean, he was there.
Yeah.
Until Brandon. He helped Brandon all the way through. So until my dad, sold everything and got out of it, he was around for the whole gig.
Yeah.
Pat Reddy, he built all of our motors, through our street stock days. We had Dargy do our late model motors.
Right.
I'm trying to think of who else. It's Bobby Simpson was my crew chief when I raced late models.
Yep.
He definitely helped a lot through that. There's just a lot of people.
Sure.
I had a lot of good sponsors: Melfar Ford, John Nolan Ford, Fairfield Ford, Larry Barrett, who used to be the flagman. We lost him not long ago. He helped a lot. I don't know. I know I'm forgetting somebody, but
it happens.
Yeah, but man. I mean, appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. Hopefully people, kind of.
Absolutely. I know you've had a lot of fun at it, and I think just maybe getting these stories out and other people find them entertaining, or well, maybe I want to go check this out and see what's going on or something, or I remember that cat. Yeah, I wonder whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So there's just good stories floating around out there, and you know what? I like recording them, and people can go back and watch them later.
Okay. Sounds good, man.
Cool. Tony, thanks for having us, man.
Yeah,
We're going to wrap things up. Checkered flag here on this session. Slingin Dirt Media. Make sure you like, subscribe, tell all your friends about it, and we'll see you at the track next week. Thanks.